got even better as the GN Sports Show comes to ABS television. The show has been a massive success on ABS radio and online. Now viewers on television can share in the riveting 90 minutes of sports talk. Join the hosts as they showcase budding stars. From 8 to 9:30 p.m. on all 3 ABS platforms, TV, radio and Facebook Live. And it's brought to you by Automotive Art, your car passion.
Welcome back to Antigua Barbuda today. Good morning to you. Time check. Well, it's time for you to get up and get yourself organized and get going. Breakfast in the making at this point in time. If not, maybe a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, or as some of our friends usually say, some bush tea always works. Well, it's Friday and we're looking forward to the weekend. Lots of activities. Some of you may have that FET match, or maybe some sporting activity taking place, basketball, football, volleyball, swimming. There's a lot going on. But I'm really pleased to have on the set of Antigua Barbuda today. He usually has his own set on a Thursday night. In fact, I'm not sure. Did you sleep here, Ricky?
It appears so. I think Shannon, actually our producer for the show, I think she slept here.
I think she did. I think she did. Ricky Santos, thank you so much for being here this morning. I know it's pretty hectic for you, but we've got so much to share with our viewers and also our listeners. And before I do anything else, kudos to you on, the impact that you've had and your commitment to sport development here in Antigua Barbuda, and your commitment to the kids, because that's where it starts.
Yes, well, to be quite frank, first of all, thanks for hosting me here. My passion actually is not even the sport of football, because my sport of choice is actually cricket. But and I'm particularly happy with that now. The West Indies is doing really well. But anyway, my passion actually is the kids and the youngsters, offering them the opportunities and pathways to realize their dreams, not only in academics but in sports, regardless of what sport it is. But if we can not just use the cliche, the youth are our future, they are our future. Mm-hmm. And if we can provide them with the opportunities, I think it's our responsibility as adults to do so.
And that is excellent, and that is the way that we should all be thinking. I'm sure you remember many moons ago, the attitude was, okay, if you're not sensible enough or if you're not smart enough, well, get him into a trade or make him do some kind of sporting activity. But I don't think a lot of us, well, maybe now we understand fully that it goes hand in hand, because it's also essential, and in terms of academia, it's good to have some sort of extracurricular activities, and then you working with the children would encourage that from get-go, right?
Yes, well, that is something I profess on a constant basis, particularly to parents, because we know academic focus is paramount. Yes. The children need a proper education, a proper foundation. However, sports, I think, is equally and married to education. So sometimes, for instance, in our club, and a child is not doing as well as the parent wished academically, they will remove the sports from them as a form of punishment. Yes. And I constantly tell the parents, I said, do not remove the sport, regardless of what sport it is, as I say. Don't remove the sport. Take away going to the movies, the iPads, the phones, the television, the computer, unless it's for use of schoolwork. Take away all those things, but leave sports, because I think it's a very essential part of the whole educational program, a holistic educational program. So that is where, so I totally support what you said in terms of sports and education are a marriage together.
Yeah, definitely so. So we've seen the need, a gap, a hole in many aspects of sport. And you have taken up, the mantle, basically. A football academy, is that what we're talking about here in Antigua Barbuda?
That is correct. Well, there are several football academies here in Antigua, but we have just taken it a notch up to help prepare the youngsters for tertiary education in particular, and we will be focusing on high school in the very near future. But let's take the tertiary educational aspect of it. What we did in November, we started a university ID combine where we hosted 2 universities scouts or coaches from Drake University and William Penn University in the names of Jamie Highcock and Kevin Brennan. And they came down here to identify possible scholars that can attend their universities. And we're very pleased that we've gotten, I was expecting a number of about 5. I told the coaches I wanted 10. We ended up getting 15 scholarships.
Excellent. Excellent, Ricky.
However, we have not released the names of the youngsters, simply because they still have to meet the academic requirements for the university, or the basic minimum academic requirements. And for obvious reasons, if some of them don't, I would not like to put any embarrassment on any child.
Yes.
So once the process has already begun, and of course we'd like to thank the Calvin Ayre Foundation, who came on board from day one to fund that program, along with Maurice Merchant and the Prime Minister's Fund, who also have picked up the difference of the scholars. All the scholars got 50% discount on the university fees and accommodation up there. And Maurice Merchant and the Prime Minister's Fund picked up the balance.
That's excellent.
So the kids are being offered 100%. So I'm very, very happy
And
for
15 scholarships, you say, I mean, that's quite a lot. At the end of the day, even though you're not releasing any of the names because they also need to more or less fit the criteria, you still have 15 scholarships. So it may be unfortunate if one may fall short, but somebody else might be able to fill that gap somewhere, right?
Well, to be quite frank, I don't think any will fall short.
Wonderful.
But
That's good
I'll
news.
tell you what, even if they fall short for that university, we have backup options, because I always have a backup option. And I told the university coaches, I said, what happens if they don't meet the academic requirements? I still want them to come up. So what we're going to do, we're going to try and shift them into a junior college until their grades are up, and then they could migrate back
Wonderful,
up.
wonderful, Ricky.
So
Contingency
we're not-
plans, wonderful.
So we're not stopping at the end, just nullifying the whole situation if they don't meet it.
So opening doors for our athletes here, or sportsmen and women here in Antigua and Barbuda, and sometimes that's necessary. They need the help because they can't help themselves. And you've heard the cry of many of these young men and women, even, you know, the little ones who you can see, you see their potential, and you want to create that space for them to grow. Because who knows?
Yes, and the thing about it, as we're talking about sports in general.
Yes.
What I would really like to see is proper emphasis put on the sporting facilities that we have here. And we can't expect the government to constantly do everything. So we have to try and pick up the slack. What I would like to see, for instance, instead of having all these community fields or properties that are in every community that is difficult to maintain, I would like to see a proper facility that's maintainable, and you select a community leader or leaders to manage that property and share it between 3 or 4 communities. I know logistically it's going to be a little difficult and you get a lot of pushback in it, but if you have a proper facility with proper surfaces for these youngsters to excel at the sport they love, then I think that will be beneficial to the sport. And as I said, we are very fortunate that we have gotten some good sponsors on board for everything that we have done. And I think we can go through that same pathway and attract the corporate Antigua and the good corporate citizens that we have here. And I'm sure they'll come on board to assist. Because I want to stress it, you cannot expect the government to do everything and maintain everything, because they have limited resources to do so. And everybody wants something for their community. Now let's share it and time manage it. And I think that will be very beneficial to the sports. That's my dream, but let's see how it goes.
Let's see how it goes. You never know. Just be hopeful. So the Football Academy, we are looking forward to September start, September 2019.
What it is because of this initiative that we had in November with the university, and the challenges that we saw that were faced in terms of the SATs, for instance, a number of these youngsters were not SAT ready to be qualified for the university. So a lot of them are trying now to get the SATs in place and so forth. So we decided, well, let's start what we'll call an advanced academy, whereby we'll have coaches, senior coaches within this advanced academy that will invite young players, talented players into the academy. They will be scouted. There will only be 40 spaces, both male and female. We're reserving 26 for male and 14 for female. Similar ratio to what was given in the scholarships. And they'll be invited into the academy. I want to stress here that even if all of them are playing for different clubs, if once they come into the GN Advanced Academy, they go back and they play for their respective clubs. They do not come and play for the GN group. They go back and they play. This is a facility to help them develop in the sport better. And as an additive part of it, as an addition to it, is that we're going to be offering assistance for the SATs. So there will be tutoring classes also that will be taking place. So, and we expect the youngsters that are selected or invited into the academy, we expect them to be dedicated and show determination. So we expect them to attend all the sessions unless they have a very valid excuse for not attending. Not only the sessions for the football, but the sessions for the academics.
That's right.
And so if they don't attend it on a regular basis and have no valid excuse, they will be released, because we want it to be very stringent. If they want the pathway, we are offering them the pathway. They have to play their part in it.
So it's twofold. You're getting everything.
You're
It's
getting
a
everything.
package.
And I must say, we have discussed it with the local football authority, governing authority, the ABFA. They are on board with it. And that's the other thing I want to stress. Not because you're in the advanced academy means you get automatic selection into the national squad. That is totally and solely in the hands of the ABFA. Of course, it will be an added advantage being trained in an advanced level, that you will have an advantage whereby that is concerned. And to come to the key point, the cost. The cost to each one of the 40 kids is $0.
Wow.
And that is all because we have a fantastic benefactor in the Calvin Ayre Foundation.
And we have to say a special thank you.
So, and this is the second time, without hesitation, as I sent out the request for assistance as a benefactor, it's the second time that the Calvin Ayre Foundation, apart from the University ID Combine, has come back within a day agreeing to fund it.
I'm very happy to hear that. So this is going to be very tough. When I say in terms of those 40 spaces you said, right?
That's correct.
So selection.
Well, selection is not up to me.
I know. So
I am not a coach.
So is this where we talk to Scott now?
Yes, well, Scott Rickards is the head coach of Mansfield Academy, and of course this is all new to us here. Of course, at least in the Generation X group. So we have resourced the structure of the academy to professionals who have been in the business a lot longer than us. And Mansfield Town Football Academy head coach and their manager will be down here in June to assist us in structuring the program.
And I'm wondering if we actually do we have Scott via Skype? It would be nice. Yes.
Yes.
Good morning. I'm not sure if Scott can actually see us. Scott, you can hear us, right?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Oh, nice. Good morning to you.
And to you?
Thank you. So, of course, Ricky is here with me this morning, and we're talking about the selection process. So it's going to be pretty tight. 40 spaces we're talking about, and the opportunity that is being offered here, Ricky and Scott, it's tremendous. So my first question would be, what are you looking for? What sort of package should these 40 individuals have?
I think listening to Ricky, obviously, it's a fantastic opportunity to give, young players an experience in, advanced coaching, which every player needs to develop and obviously excel. I think sometimes we get carried away with, especially in the UK, we see it quite a lot in our industry where everybody focuses on talent and ability, but actually what drives that is attitude. So we make a relatively large premium to make sure that every player that we attract when we select our scholars and our players for our academy, we make sure that their attitude that sits behind the talent is obviously absolutely impeccable, because football is a tough industry, as is any professional sport, and at times it's challenging and at times it can be really, really hard. And, players do get themselves down, but it's the attitude that drives them through that. So that will be a key message that we will be giving to Ricky when we visit over in June. He's looking at players' attitude and not just the ability side of what a player has.
Scott, million-dollar question, and I mean, he made a valid point there, Ricky, in terms of the attitude, uppermost and foremost. But what are some of the key components that you're looking for after you've figured out, okay, this person has the right drive, the right attitude, they want it, they're hungry? What would stand out for you, Ricky? And also, well, you said you're not doing the selection, so Scott definitely would be the man and his team with the eye. But outside of that, what comes next?
I think we tend to, especially when we recruit, we recruit players obviously every year for our academy over in Mansfield at different ages, right the way through from under 8s, under 7s, all the way through to sort of under 21s plus, and I think, inevitably talking about attitude, but the second thing then will be, natural ability of what a player can do, on the football field. We use a structure in the UK with, was explaining to Ricky last night when we were chatting. We use a structure that the Football Association, the English FA give us. And it focuses on different areas of really the whole player. So some social aspects, some psychological aspects, some technical, tactical aspects, and definitely physical aspects. I think if you look at any modern sport now, physical attributions are key to making sure that players can sustain the level of performance that they need at any sport, really. So physical attributes will be a key part in the selection process, and technical and tactical attributes will also be, I would say, a key component to making up that player that gets selected for an advanced academy.
Okay, so we're talking about the advanced academy, though, Scott, but I want to take it all the way back to the youngsters, and maybe some advice. And I know Ricky has also been pushing this. How young do you think we should start? How early should we get our kids involved in terms of any particular sport? Let's say football. Should we start as early as 4 years old or 5 years old?
I think from seeing how the game's developed over the last 15, 20 years since I've been involved in the industry, it was very rare years ago that kids were involved in academies at 4, 5, 6. Really, you were left to play grassroots football almost in the street with your friends and just socially, learn the game socially through playing with, your friends at school or your friends after school or whatever. But because of the nature of the way that the business is moving now, especially the bigger clubs in the world and bigger clubs in Europe are now looking at, getting children as early as 3 and 4 into academies. For me, I personally think as long as there's an element of fun still there, the basics of learning the sport really go back to the fundamentals of just movement, giving a player the ability to move, balance, his coordination skills. As long as that element still stays the same, I don't see an issue with players being involved in an academy. I do think that, if a club are putting young players now, especially at 5 and 6 and 7 under pressure in game situations, then, that can be, in my opinion, quite detrimental to the player because, there might be psychological aspects that if they don't win or they don't quite hit the level that they need to move through that academy, what impact does that have on a player later on in his life? So definitely something which, football clubs are more aware of now. But, from my point of view, I don't see there being an issue with them getting involved too early.
Scott, let's talk a little bit about discipline before we jump into you coming here in June. And also in the Caribbean, just your opinion, just some feedback from you. Do we need to up the ante in terms of our levels of discipline? Some may say, why are you asking that question? But it's a question that we ask and no one wants to talk about. Do you see a difference or a sort of laid-back mentality in the region as opposed to maybe mainstream football?
Yeah, I think discipline is an intrinsic motivator, really. The discipline that a player will have, to be able to get out of bed in the morning and go and do additional work or go to a gym on a day off and do some additional training to make sure that, their level of performance is good or their fitness levels remain, good. That level of discipline will always, I tend to find in football that the more disciplined and the more professional players are, the more opportunity that they tend to give themselves. And, you know, I think it's just being realistic to the level that the players want to play at. If we have a player that wants to play in the English Premier League, which is the top flight level, yet, you know, his discipline doesn't really meet the level of, say, 4 levels below that, you know, it's just being realistic to the player to say, look, you know, discipline is good, but first and foremost, there has to be realism within that. You know, but as a rule, you know, within the professional sport, discipline is a key element of somebody's development and a key element of a test of their character to continually have that level of discipline to get on.
Scott, before we let you go, Ricky, he's going to be here Scott, you're going to be here
in June.
So how many of you are coming?
There's myself, obviously, from the football club, from the academy, and also our academy manager, John Dempster, who's an ex-professional, as I am. So we'll be coming over in June to sit with the academy, to sit down and really just put an infrastructure in place that we feel will help the academy run initially, obviously getting it off the ground and making sure that the players also within that get the best opportunities and the best coaching programs and the best platform to develop. Because as Ricky alluded to at the start of the conversation, you know, it's about the players at the end of the day. You know, whatever we do as coaches is just to help the players, and it has to be continually about the players, whether they develop, and making sure that the environment that we set for them is an environment that they are able to excel in. You know, we have to be very cautious that we don't set a pressured environment where the players can't excel, because then we have a problem with, you know, at the end of it, when we're judging them to maybe push on and realise their dreams, as Ricky said, you know, if we put them under too much pressure, then that won't happen. So we'll be giving Ricky and the academy some vital infrastructure advice on, you know, what's worked for us as an academy and what's managed to allow us to get really good success stories out of our academy with boys now that are playing the professional game as a profession, as a living. You know, even at 21 and 22 years old, they're now playing in a really good level of football in the UK, which is every day they get up and that's their job. So, you know, I'm not saying that we can make guarantees that will happen, but we can definitely give the advice and the information for the academy to start off with that we feel will give the players that opportunity.
Thanks, Scott. Ricky has just one comment, something to add.
Yes, I'd just like to mention to you, and Scott is aware of this, of course, we have 2 youngsters that are presently in Mansfield Town Academy, one of which is Antiguan, Christian Corbett, and Lecky Shidonki, who's an English guy. So we have 2 of them in the academy right now, so we're pleased. And as I spoke to Scott last night, and as many conversations over the phone, we're looking to increase that number.
And Scott, we really look forward to having some increased numbers as well. Scott, thank you so much. We'll see you in June.
See you. Thanks for the time.
No problem. So this is pretty exciting, and we're looking forward to this. And I'm sure viewers are looking, parents, and you know, just the opportunities, and not just with the football, the Advanced Football Academy, but just, you know, overall the attitude that we have, that you have, you know, Scott, that package that you're offering to the young ones here in Antigua Barbuda. So,
and I want to stress again that it would not be possible without the Calvin Ayre Foundation.
And we give kudos to that foundation, Calvin Ayre Foundation. Thank you so much. Ricky, we ran out of time.
Yes, well, thanks for having me again.
We literally ran out of time. I don't know where the time went, but it's time now for us to jump inside the birthdays. Ibis is coming up in just a little, but we're going to take a break first. Before we do that, and we look forward to having Ricky back on sometime soon, maybe perhaps closer to June, when Scott and the gang, when they are here, and we can talk a little bit more.
It'll be our pleasure, and thanks once again.
No problem. So this is Antigua Barbuda today. We're going to come back with the birthday specials. Stay with us.